1. The principle of embodied aliveness, awakening the body to awaken the mind. There are days when the simple act of getting out of bed feels like a monumental battle. It is not laziness that holds you down, but a profound and invisible heaviness. Your thoughts feel like they are moving through molasses, and every small task, making coffee, answering an email, deciding what to wear, requires double the energy it should. That sluggishness, that deep-seated inertia, isn't just in your mind. It is a physical state. It is in your body, in your cells, in the very rhythm of your being. And when you are caught in that stagnant space, the last thing you feel like doing is moving. But here lies the profound paradox: in those moments of physical and mental paralysis, movement is the most potent medicine you can administer. We are not speaking of intense, punishing exercise. No one is asking you to run a marathon or spend an hour in a crowded gym when the weight of the world feels heavy on your shoulders. This is not about sculpting your body, it is about reconnecting with it. It is about understanding a fundamental truth that the Stoics knew intimately: movement is not just a physical act, it is a chemical and emotional one. It has the power to rewire your brain, to open up mental space, and to begin clearing the emotional fog you have been living in. Modern science has shown us that simple physical activity is one of the most direct and effective ways to increase dopamine, the very neurotransmitter responsible for sparking motivation, focus, and joy. Think about that for a second. The feeling of stuckness is often a biological state, a dopamine deficit. And one of the keys to restoring it is not to think your way out, but to move your way out. Your body is not a machine that simply carries your brain from one place to another. It is your experience of the world. It is a living library that stores stress, tension, unprocessed emotions, and even memories. The philosopher and psychologist Carl Jung once said, "What you resist, persists." When you resist movement, especially during low moments, you are unconsciously holding on to these emotional blocks. Your body is quietly begging to release them, and movement is the language it uses to say, "I am ready to let go." Each stretch, each step, each intentional shift in posture is a signal to your nervous system that you are no longer stagnant. So, let us strip away the pressure. Movement does not require performance. It does not need a plan, a playlist, or a fitness tracker. It can be you, pacing barefoot on your porch as the sun rises, feeling the cool ground beneath your feet. It can be stretching your arms high above your head while your coffee brews, feeling the expansion in your chest and the gentle release in your spine. It could even be dancing, perhaps badly, in your kitchen to a song that reminds you of a lighter time. The goal is not perfection. The goal is presence. The goal is giving yourself permission to shift your state, not by thinking your way out of it, but by moving your way through it. Aristotle, a foundational figure for later Stoic thought, believed that motion and life were inseparable. Life is movement, he declared. He was not referring to cardio routines, he was pointing to a fundamental truth of existence. When we stop moving, we begin to stagnate. We become emotionally cluttered, mentally foggy, and spiritually tired. So, when your inner world feels jammed, when you feel trapped in a fog you cannot think your way out of, do not fight it with more thinking. Move. Move slowly, move intentionally, move even awkwardly. Let that motion shake something loose. Let it remind your brain, your body, and your soul that you are alive, that you are capable, and that you are in control, even if it's just for this one moment. The Stoics, often misunderstood as emotionless statues, were deeply aware of this mind-body connection. Cleanthes, the second head of the Stoic school in Athens, was a manual laborer by night and a philosopher by day. He would carry water to earn his living, a physically demanding task. He believed that the discipline of physical work was essential for sharpening the mind. For him, the body was not a distraction from philosophy, it was a gateway to it. Movement wasn't something you had to do, it was something you got to do, a privilege of being alive. Let us not forget Socrates, who famously walked the streets of Athens, engaging in dialogue and seeking deeper understanding. He knew that conversation, learning, and even wisdom flowed more freely when the feet were in motion. His student, Plato, built the very idea of his academy around walking and talking in the groves. The body and movement supported the mind in contemplation. A practical Stoic exercise, the first step of intention. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, try this. Stand up. Feel your feet on the floor. Take one deep, conscious breath. Now, take a single step forward. As you do, say to yourself, silently or aloud, I am in motion. That is all. You have already shifted your state from stillness to movement. Now, commit to just 5 minutes. Walk around your home. Step outside. It does not matter where. The only rule is to stay in gentle, continuous motion. Pay attention to the sensation of your body moving. Feel your muscles engage. Notice your breath. You are not exercising, you are embodying life. You are reminding your nervous system that you are not stuck. You are going somewhere. And in that simple, 5-minute act, you may find that the war within has already begun to quiet. 2. The alchemy of nourishment, feeding your mind, not just your hunger. There is an oddly comforting, yet deeply revealing, ritual that unfolds in front of the refrigerator door when life feels off-kilter. You stand there, bathed in its artificial glow, not truly hungry, but searching. Searching for calm. Searching for control. Searching for a fleeting moment of comfort in the middle of chaos. We have all been there, eating out of stress, boredom, habit, or simply because it is 11 o'clock at night and our emotions will not sit still. But here is the profound truth we rarely stop to consider: it is not just our body that is eating. Our brain is, too. And our brain is incredibly picky. What we feed it matters far more than we realize. The very chemistry of our minds, our moods, our focus, our emotional stability, is built directly from what is on our plate. This is not mystical thinking, it is biology. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter that fuels our motivation, focus, and our ability to experience pleasure, is synthesized in the brain from an amino acid called tyrosine. And where do we get tyrosine? From the food we eat. Protein-rich foods like lean meats, fish, eggs, and beans, healthy fats from avocados and nuts, the vibrant antioxidants in berries and leafy greens. These are not just healthy foods, they are the literal raw materials your brain needs to produce the chemicals that allow you to feel grounded, energized, and clear-headed. Now, contrast that with the usual suspects we reach for in moments of stress: the sugary snacks, the processed carbohydrates, the greasy takeout. These foods offer a short-lived high, a rapid and artificial spike in dopamine. But it is a borrowed pleasure, and it fades fast. What comes after is the inevitable crash, the mental slump, the physical fog, the renewed cravings, and the quiet guilt. The cycle repeats. You are not broken, you are simply caught in a biological loop that your body was never designed to sustain. Carl Jung's wisdom echoes here: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This applies to our relationship with food more than we might think. Most of the time, we are not eating out of true, physical hunger. We are reacting to emotions we have not yet named: anxiety, restlessness, loneliness, emptiness. Food becomes a temporary anesthetic, a band-aid for the things we haven't healed. But a quick fix is not nourishment, and it certainly does not feed the person you aspire to become. The Stoics were acutely aware of this thousands of years ago. Seneca, in his letters, warned against the dangers of overindulgence, stating that anything done in excess clouds judgment and weakens the will. He was not just speaking of wine or lavish feasts, he was speaking of any behavior used to avoid being fully present, yes, even reaching for that third cookie when we are feeling low. For the Stoics, the virtue of temperance was not about restriction or self-denial. It was about freedom. Freedom from being controlled by impulse, freedom from the tyranny of fleeting cravings. A practical Stoic exercise, the pre-meal pause. Before your next meal, I invite you to practice a simple, yet transformative, Stoic exercise. Before you take the first bite, pause. Close your eyes for just 10 seconds. Take one deep breath. In that pause, ask yourself a simple question: how do I want to feel after this meal? Do you want to feel grounded, energized, and clear-headed? Or do you want to feel bloated, sluggish, and emotionally scattered? This is not about judging the food as good or bad. It is about aligning your choice with your intention. This brief pause breaks the chain of mindless, reactive eating. It brings consciousness to the act. It transforms eating from a mere habit into an act of self-care and self-respect. Eating with intention does not mean turning into a nutrition robot. It is not about obsessing over macronutrients or adopting the latest restrictive diet. It is about paying attention. It is about understanding that what you eat becomes how you think. What you eat becomes how you feel. There is something profoundly empowering in that realization. You understand that food is not just fuel, it is information. Each bite sends a message to your brain, to your cells, to your entire being. With each nourishing choice, you are sending a message of support, of stability, of care. That kind of nourishment does not just feed your body, it rebuilds your emotional resilience from the inside out. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Perhaps the unexamined plate is a part of that, too. Because when we slow down and examine what we are reaching for, and why, we begin to make different choices. Not from a place of guilt, but from a place of alignment, wisdom, and a deep desire to live with more clarity and less chaos. 3. The sanctuary of sleep, rebuilding your mind in the darkness. Somehow, somewhere along the way, our modern culture began to treat sleep as a luxury. An optional activity. Something you get to do after the real work is done, after the hustle, after the last scroll through the infinite feed. We started wearing our late nights like badges of honor, glorifying the state of running on empty as if it were a sign of ambition and importance. But let us be brutally honest with ourselves for a moment. You cannot out-hustle a fried nervous system. You cannot fake an energy your body has not been given the chance to create. And no amount of caffeine in the morning can truly replace what happens in the sacred, restorative darkness of deep sleep. Think about it. When life becomes chaotic and overwhelming, what is the first thing we sacrifice? Sleep. And yet, it is the very foundation that stabilizes everything else. Your mood, your memory, your motivation, your ability to handle stress, it all depends on quality rest. Without it, your brain chemistry begins to unravel. The production of dopamine, the molecule that provides your sense of drive, focus, and emotional balance, is severely disrupted. When you miss out on deep sleep, you are not just tired the next day, you are chemically compromised. Your brain's reward system cannot reset, and suddenly, even the simplest of tasks, making breakfast, answering a message, getting dressed, can feel overwhelmingly difficult. Aristotle once wrote, "It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light." But it is nearly impossible to focus on anything when your mind is shrouded in the thick fog of fatigue, when your inner world is scattered and brittle. In this context, sleep becomes the flashlight. It is the biological reset button. It is the behind-the-scenes miracle that nobody sees, but everyone feels when it is missing. Stoicism, a philosophy of profound intention, reminds us to live deliberately. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the Roman Empire and still made time to reflect, wrote in his Meditations, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." But that privilege begins with preparation. And the preparation for a good day does not start at dawn, it starts the night before. If you want a calm, focused, and resilient mind in the morning, you must first give it the sanctuary of rest it needs at night. Now, let us not overcomplicate this. Creating a sleep sanctuary is not about purchasing expensive gadgets or adhering to a perfect, rigid routine. It is about creating boundaries. It is a conscious decision to cut the noise, dim the lights, and put your phone down. It is about signaling to your body and mind that it is time to shift gears from doing to being. It is about making your bedroom a signal for rest, not a second office, a movie theater, or a news hub. Your bedroom should be a space where your nervous system knows, without a doubt, here, we rest. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we ignore, suppress, or deny. For many of us, our disregard for sleep is a shadow behavior. We ignore the signs of exhaustion, we downplay its impact, we deny our fundamental need for rest until it manifests in ways we can no longer ignore: irritability, brain fog, anxiety, a pervasive sense of numbness. Jung noted that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. Sometimes, choosing sleep means facing your soul. It means slowing down, turning inward, and acknowledging a fundamental truth: you need something. You are not a machine. You are beautifully, vulnerably human. Plato believed that rhythm and harmony find their way into the inward places of the soul. That is not just poetry, it is biology. Your circadian rhythm, the natural sleep-wake cycle of your body, is your internal compass. When you honor it by going to bed at a consistent time, by dimming artificial lights, and by giving your senses a period of peace before sleep, you are returning to harmony. You are allowing your body to do what it is designed to do: heal, restore, and rebuild. And when you do, you begin to feel like yourself again. A practical Stoic exercise, the sundown ritual. Tonight, I challenge you to practice the sundown ritual. 30 minutes before your intended bedtime, declare an end to the day's inputs. This means screens off, put your phone, tablet, and laptop away. Preferably in another room. The blue light from these devices is a direct enemy of melatonin, your body's sleep hormone. Lights down, dim the lights in your home. Use a soft lamp instead of bright overhead lighting. This signals to your brain that darkness, and therefore sleep, is approaching. Mind down, engage in a non-stimulating activity. Read a physical book. Listen to calm music. Write in a journal. Stretch gently. The goal is to quiet the analytical, problem-solving part of your brain. This is not about forcing sleep. It is about creating the conditions for sleep to arise naturally. It is an act of profound self-respect. So if you have been pushing through, ignoring the signs, and convincing yourself that you will rest when things finally slow down, let this be your wake-up call, ironically, to go to bed. Because the power you seek for tomorrow does not come from effort alone. It comes from rested effort. It comes from a mind that is clear, a body that is restored, and a spirit that has been given a moment of peace in the dark. 4. The citadel of stillness, finding power in the pause. We spend the majority of our lives running. Running from task to task, from screen to screen, from thought to thought. We are constantly stimulated, constantly connected, constantly on. And somewhere in that relentless, buzzing chaos, we forget what our own inner voice even sounds like. We think we are escaping stress by staying busy, but in reality, we are just burying it under more noise. The world keeps yelling, and we keep listening. But silence? Stillness? That is where the truth lives. And most people, if they are honest, are terrified of it. Let us be frank. When was the last time you sat completely alone, without checking your phone, without planning your day, without trying to use the time productively? Just sat. With yourself. In your body. In your breath. For most, that kind of stillness feels awkward, unproductive, even uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something wants to be heard. We are not just overstimulated, we are overstretched. The human nervous system was never built to handle this volume of constant, fragmented input. When it is overloaded, your brain chemistry takes a significant hit. Dopamine levels, which help you feel motivated and grounded, begin to crash, not because you are doing too little, but because you are doing too much, without any space to reset. Stillness provides that space. This is not about becoming a Zen master or subscribing to a complex meditation app. It is about the radical act of creating just 5 minutes of quiet in your day. No judgment. No performance. Just breath and presence. It is in these moments that you can begin to hear past the noise. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes." That is precisely what stillness offers, a chance to wake up to what is really going on beneath the surface of your busy life. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience gave us the language for it. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself in the journal that would later become Meditations, gave this profound advice: "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was the ruler of the most powerful empire on earth, facing wars, plagues, and betrayals, yet he still made time, every single day, to retreat inward. He did not do this to escape life, but to return to it with greater strength and clarity. In the silence, you do not just quiet the world, you begin to hear yourself with startling clarity. You hear the tired parts of you that are pleading for rest. You hear the cluttered, anxious thoughts that need to be sorted and released. And you start to realize a powerful truth: stillness is not emptiness. It is space. And space is where healing begins. Aristotle considered contemplation to be the highest form of human activity. He believed that thinking deeply, turning inward, was essential for a virtuous and fulfilling life. And what is contemplation if not a form of intentional stillness? When you deliberately remove distractions, even for a few precious minutes, your mind finally gets to breathe. And in that breath, in that quiet, your dopamine system begins to recalibrate, not from the jolt of external excitement, but from the deep, resonant hum of internal alignment. Socrates built his entire philosophy on the idea that self-examination is the root of all wisdom. "The unexamined life is not worth living," he famously declared. But examination requires a pause. You cannot examine your life with any honesty when you are constantly reacting to it. You cannot reflect if you never stop moving. Stillness, therefore, is not a waste of time. It is the very foundation of clarity and self-knowledge. And this is not merely a mental or spiritual benefit, it is profoundly biological. Scientific studies have repeatedly shown that practicing mindfulness and intentional stillness can boost both dopamine and serotonin levels in the brain. As you sit quietly, your body relaxes, your emotional system settles, and your capacity for sound decision-making improves. Stillness helps you become a better thinker, a better responder, and a more resilient version of yourself. A practical Stoic exercise, the 5-minute citadel. You do not need a mountain retreat. You do not need a full hour. You just need a moment. A breath. A deliberate break in the noise. Try this. Find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for 5 minutes. Set a timer. This is important, as it frees your mind from worrying about time. Sit comfortably. You do not need a special posture. Just be upright and relaxed. Close your eyes and simply notice your breath. Do not try to change it. Just feel the air moving in and out. Your mind will wander. That is what minds do. When you notice it has wandered, gently and without judgment, bring your attention back to your breath. Each time you do this, you are performing a mental push-up. You are strengthening your focus. Do this once a day. That is it. What your mind truly craves is not more input, it is integration. It needs a moment to make sense of everything you have already taken in. Stillness gives you that. It gives you back to yourself. 5. The Ledger of Virtue, celebrating the smallest of wins. There is something incredibly, almost primitively, satisfying about checking an item off a list. Even if the task is as simple as, drink a glass of water, or, answer one email, that tiny moment of completion hits differently. It feels good. This feeling is not just emotional, it is chemical. That is your brain's reward system, flush with a small hit of dopamine, sending a clear message, yes. This matters. Keep going. The more we learn to consciously recognize and celebrate these small, incremental moments of progress, the more motivated we become to keep showing up, for ourselves and for the world. Herein lies a common mistake many of us make on our journey of self-improvement. We wait for the big win to feel proud. We tell ourselves we will feel accomplished when we have written the entire book, lost all the weight, built the whole business, or healed completely. But our brains are not wired for that kind of long-distance, delayed gratification. We need micro-rewards. We need consistent signals along the way that confirm, you are doing it. You are in motion. You are on the path. Carl Jung observed that, the creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. That inner necessity, that drive for momentum, creation, and expression, is not fueled by the pursuit of perfection. It is fueled by progress, even messy, slow, imperfect progress. Because movement, in and of itself, builds belief. The Stoics knew this intimately. Epictetus taught his students, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. He did not instruct them to wait until they were that ideal person to begin acting. The doing is the becoming. Each small, consistent step, each quiet decision to show up when it would be easier not to, is a foundational act in shaping your identity. You do not become a disciplined person by merely thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by making one small, aligned choice, and then another, and another. Think of your greatest goals as a grand staircase. You do not leap from the bottom floor to the top in a single bound. You take one step, then another. The key is to notice each step. To pause, acknowledge it, and celebrate it. Not with fireworks or fanfare, but with a simple, internal affirmation, I did what I said I would do. That is how trust is built, not just with others, but with the most important person in your life, yourself. Aristotle taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. He argued that we are what we repeatedly do. But habits do not form from giant, heroic leaps. They form from repetition, from reinforcing even the smallest aligned action until it becomes a natural part of your rhythm. When you actively track these actions, when you write down what you have accomplished, reflect on it, and give it weight, you are literally wiring your brain to crave consistency. You are teaching your nervous system to recognize effort as worthy, not just the final result. Socrates often questioned those who claimed to possess great knowledge but lacked fundamental self-awareness. In our modern world, one of the most overlooked forms of self-awareness is knowing what you have actually done. It is so easy to forget the effort you have put in, especially when progress feels slow. But slow progress is still progress. You are still in motion. And that motion matters more than fleeting motivation, because consistent motion is what creates sustainable motivation. A practical Stoic exercise, the daily ledger of virtue. Tonight, before you sleep, engage in this powerful Stoic practice. Take out a journal or a simple piece of paper. Instead of writing a to-do list for tomorrow, create a done list for today. But do not just list tasks. Reframe it as a ledger of virtue. Ask yourself, where did I act with courage today, even in a small way? Where did I practice temperance, resisting an impulse? Where did I choose wisdom over reactivity? Where did I show up with justice and fairness? Maybe your act of courage was simply getting out of bed when you felt low. Maybe your act of temperance was pausing before sending an angry text. Maybe your act of wisdom was choosing stillness over distraction. These are not small things. They are everything. Write them down. It is not about measuring your worth. It is about honoring your momentum. Because every time you recognize what you have done, dopamine flows. Your brain learns, this is good. Let's do more of that. Motivation is not magic. It is a reward system. And you can activate it anytime you choose to notice what is working, and what is already moving in the right direction. Do not wait to celebrate until you have reached the summit. Celebrate each step, each breath, each quiet choice to keep going. 6. The art of release, letting go to move forward. There is a certain kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It is the exhaustion you feel after carrying something for too long. It could be a grudge, a worry, a hidden stress, or the relentless pressure of being the one who always holds it all together. You carry it in your shoulders, which are perpetually tight. You carry it in your breath, which has become shallow. You carry it in your sleep, which is often restless. You are the strong one, the reliable one. But let us be brutally honest, how often does strong actually just mean silent, overburdened, and exhausted? There is a fine line between resilience and simply running on empty, and many of us cross it daily without even noticing. We live in a culture that praises grit and grinds endurance into our very identity. But being constantly on, constantly holding, constantly bracing for the next impact, that is not a superpower. It is a slow, corrosive drain on your nervous system. And stress. If it does not have an exit, it does not disappear. It settles into your body like a weight that keeps getting heavier. At first, it is manageable. Then it starts to interfere with your sleep, your focus, your mood. That is not a sign of weakness. That is your biology doing precisely what it is designed to do, sounding the alarm that something needs to shift. Carl Jung's insight is piercingly relevant here: what you resist, not only persists, but will grow in size. When it comes to stress and emotional burdens, resisting them does not make you stronger. It just makes the eventual explosion louder when you finally hit the wall. Emotional energy does not vanish when you ignore it. It hides. It builds pressure. And eventually, it finds a way out, often through burnout, anxiety, or even physical symptoms that you cannot explain. The Stoics were profoundly misunderstood as being emotionless, but that is a gross oversimplification. They were not advocates for suppression, they were masters of transformation. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful men, kept a journal not as a record of his ego, but as a tool for reflection and release. He understood the immense weight of holding everything in and the profound wisdom of making space for honest emotional assessment. He reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. The Stoics gave themselves room to feel so that they could lead with clarity, not chaos. Release does not have to be dramatic. You do not need to wait for a full-blown breakdown to deserve a break. Sometimes, it is as simple as stepping outside and walking without a destination, feeling your feet connect with the earth. It can be stretching your body until the tension finally says, enough. It can be the act of writing down what is swirling in your head, so it no longer takes up residence in your chest. Or it can be talking to a trusted friend, not for advice, but simply to be heard. Plato believed that the soul suffered when it was out of harmony with its nature. Your nature, your nervous system, was never built to carry relentless, unceasing pressure without a pause. Rest is not an indulgence. Letting go is not a failure. These are radical acts of self-respect. They are the anchors that keep you from drifting too far from your own shore. And here is the beautiful, biological truth: when you allow yourself to release, your body does not just calm down, it recalibrates. Your dopamine system, the very chemistry that drives motivation and joy, begins to rise again. Your focus sharpens. Your breath deepens. You do not just feel better, you become better equipped to handle the inevitable challenges of life. A practical Stoic exercise, the emotional inventory. Socrates taught that wisdom begins in wonder, but perhaps it also begins in permission. The simple, radical idea that you are allowed to feel, allowed to rest, allowed to say, this is too much, without it meaning you have failed. So, the next time you feel yourself tightening, your jaw, your chest, your mind, do not just push harder. Do not bury it. Pause, and conduct a brief, emotional inventory. Name it, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Give it a name: anxiety, frustration, overwhelm, sadness. Naming it separates you from it. Locate it: where do you feel this in your body? A tightness in your throat? A knot in your stomach? Place a hand there. Acknowledge its physical presence. Release it: choose one simple act of release. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, imagining the tension leaving with each exhale. Write down the feeling in a journal without censoring yourself. Go for a short, brisk walk. This practice is not about fixing the problem. It is about releasing the pressure so you can approach the problem with a clear mind. Release is not weakness. It is wisdom in motion. We have walked together through 6 fundamental principles, 6 pathways back to ourselves. From the embodied aliveness found in a single intentional step, to the alchemy of nourishing our minds, to the sacred sanctuary of sleep. We have explored the power of stillness, the virtue in small wins, the emotional resonance of music, and the vital importance of our chosen company. We have felt the sun on our skin, remembered the joy of creation, and learned the profound art of release. These are not separate, isolated hacks. They are an interconnected ecosystem for a life of meaning. They are the bricks and mortar for your inner citadel. The silent war you have been fighting, the quiet exhaustion you have been carrying, is not won with a single, decisive battle. It is won with these small, daily, disciplined choices. It is won by choosing to show up for yourself, one breath, one step, one decision at a time. The Stoics taught us that we do not control the events of the world, the storms, the chaos, the actions of others. But we have absolute sovereignty over our response. This is not a philosophy of passive resignation. It is a philosophy of profound, active, and personal power. It is the understanding that your inner world is the one place you can cultivate peace, strength, and freedom, regardless of the turmoil outside. The world will always be loud. The demands will not cease. The distractions will multiply. Your task is not to silence the world, but to find the stillness within it. Your victory will not be measured in applause or external validation. It will be measured in your own, quiet, unshakable peace. In your ability to meet life, in all its beauty and all its difficulty, with a calm mind and an open heart. That is the Stoic promise. That is the journey we are on. And it is a journey worth every single step. If this journey and these principles have resonated with you, help us share this message. Show your support by hitting the like button. Doing so tells the algorithm that this content is valuable, helping it reach others who may be fighting their own silent war. To continue walking this path with us, to explore more timeless wisdom for living a life of strength, clarity, and purpose, be sure to subscribe to BAudio and turn on notifications. We are a community dedicated to deep, meaningful growth. And most importantly, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share which of these 6 principles you will begin practicing today. Your story, your commitment, might be the very inspiration someone else needs to see. Thank you for your time and your attention. Until next time, stay steady, stay present, and continue to build the fortress within.